Hello, accelerated math students. Today we are going to start a new unit, linear equations. And I'm giving you one assignment today, and I'm going to post another one tomorrow just so that it's spaced out a little bit. But you need your notebook out with a pencil. I'm expecting you to take notes during this video. Feel free to pause it anytime you need to catch up and write something down, or rewatch it anytime you feel the need. So here we go. We're going to start with 4.1, graphing equations. It's going to get easier, but today is a little bit of work. So we're going to quick review these equations that are above. This is the equation that we're going to use to fill in the graph. So we're going to plug in for x, -1. So we're going to do 2 times -1 minus 3. 2 times -1 is a -2. Minus 3 gives me a -5. So that would be my y value. Now I'm going to redo this. I'm just going to write over it. Put in 0. 2 times 0 is 0. Minus 3 would be a -3. Doing it again, plugging in a 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 3 would give me a -1. One last time. 2 would be plugging a 2. Minus 3, 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 3 gives me a 1. There are my answers. So I'm going to do it again with this equation. A negative x. So I'm going to do a -1 plus 1. Well, a -1 is a +1. Plus 1 gives me 2. -0 really isn't any such thing. Plus 1 gives me a +1. -1 plus 1 gives me a 0. And you'll be able to see a pattern as you start going. I'm going from 2 to 1 to 0. This is probably going to be a -1. There's 2 more. You can pause the video and do them on your own and then come back. So we're going to do x plus 5. So I'm going to take this number and I'm just going to add 5. So -1 plus 5 gives me 4. 0 plus 5 gives me 5. 1 plus 5 gives me 6. 4, 5, 6. This will be 7. Now, with this one, I'm taking half of x. So half of -1, and then I'm adding 2. So half of -1 would be a -1/2, plus 2 would give me 1/2. Half of 0 is still 0, plus 2 would give me 2. Half of 1 gives me half, plus 2 gives me 2/2. And again, 1/2, 2, 2/2, 3. So now we're going to find 3 ordered pairs that are the solutions of the equation y equals 2x minus 3. And then we're going to draw the graph. So I'm going to make an xy table, and mine's going to go up and down just because of space, but you can definitely go across. And instead of 3, I'm going to do 5. And one of them is going to be negative, just so that I get into the negatives. -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to keep it simple, low numbers. So 2 times my x, and then I'm going to subtract 3. So 2 times -1 minus 3. So this is -2 minus 3 gives me -5. 0 minus 3 gives me a -3. 2 times 1 gives me 2 minus 3 gives me a -1. And again, you should see a pattern. I'm coming up 2 each time. So adding 2 more is going to give me a +1 and then a +3. Now, let's go ahead and graph them. We have our x-axis that goes across and our y-axis that goes up and down. So I'm going to do this first ordered pair. I'm going to start at 0, go to -1, and then -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my first point on my graph. 0, negative 3. So I'm not going anywhere. Down 3. 1, 2, 3. Here's my next one. Positive 1, negative 1. So I'm going to go positive 1 and then down 1. 2, 1, positive 2, positive 1, and then 3, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, the best part is hopefully you guys can make a straight line, but what you're going to do is you're going to connect all those dots, go all the way through the graph, and if you can make it a straight line, please make it a straight line. And we graphed it. That's what we are going to do. We're going to do the same thing. Again, I'm going to extend my XY coordinate. I want to use 5 numbers, and one has to be a negative. So I'm going to do a negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So here we go. 4 times my x minus 2. So 4 times a negative 1 minus 2. That's negative 4 minus 2 gives me a negative 6. 0 minus 2 gives me a negative 2. Let's see, 4 times 1 minus 2, that's 4 minus 2 gives me 2. And you can start seeing I'm going up 4 each time. Negative 6 plus 4 gives me negative 2, plus 4 gives me 2. This is going to be 6, and this is going to be 10. So let's put it on the graph. Again, x-axis, y-axis. So I'm going to do start at 0. I'm going to go to negative 1 and then negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0, negative 2. 1, positive 2. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 3. There's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 up there at the very top. And again, use the straight line, go all the way through the graph, and there is our graph. You can do this one. Again, I would recommend using 5 numbers. Plug it in. Again, a negative. Negative 1 is going to be a positive 1 plus 5 is 6. 0 plus 5 is 5. I'm thinking you can kind of see negative 1 plus 5 gives me 4, 3, 2. We're going to graph it, x-axis, y-axis, negative 1, positive 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0, 5, 1, 4, 2, 3, 3, 2. And then we would draw as straight as a line as we possibly can. Ooh, very bad straight line. I hope you guys do a better job. Straight line all the way through. So here is what I expect to go into your notes. We're going to define linear equation. Linear equation is an equation whose graph is a line, and the points on the line are solutions of the equation. This is just an example, but you've got your x column and your y column. So then here's your ordered pairs, and you put them on the graph and draw a straight line through. Pause the video if you need to rewrite this in your notes decently. Let me make that a T. So we're only going to do a couple of these, but I would recommend, again, making your XY table. Doesn't matter if it goes across or up or down. I would pick 5 numbers just to make sure one of them is a negative. And I seriously keep it easy. I use negative 1 to get my 1 negative, and then just 0, 1, 2, and 3. So negative 2 times a negative 1 plus 1. That's a positive 2 plus 1. I get a 3. 0 plus 1 gives me a 1. Negative 2 times 1 gives me a negative 2. Plus 1 gives me a negative 1. And again, you can kind of see 3 down to 1. So I'm subtracting 2. So this would be a negative 3. That would be a negative 5. Then you graph them 1 point at a time. -1, +3, 0, 1, +1, -1, 2, -3, 3, -5. And then again, see if you can't draw a straight line that goes all the way through your graph points and put arrows at the end. Again, really bad straight line. Hopefully you guys can do a better job. Now we do have 2 other lines to talk about. So again, this should go into your notes. You've got a horizontal line and a vertical line. So if your equation is literally just y equals some number, that is going to be a horizontal line passing through 0 and whatever that number is. Y gives us a horizontal line. On the opposite, if it's x equals some number, that's giving us a vertical line going straight through. So y's always give us a y value, which is up and down, so that y equals, we'll say 5. We go up 0 for x, because there is no x. We go up 5, and we draw a line through that. Same thing, x is the x-axis, so we go over whichever way, positive or negative, and then draw a vertical line. So y equals a -3. There is no x, so we're going to go down 3. Here it is, and draw a horizontal line. Same way the other way. There is no y, so x is a +2, and then we draw a vertical line going through that point. So you would have to graph these. I'm not going to graph them, but we are going to quick do the XY table. And again, I don't care, up or down, across, doesn't really matter. Pick 5 numbers. One of them has to be a negative. So -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So 3 times -1 would be a -3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 1 is 3, 6, 9. Then on your graph paper, you would graph that line. With this one, number 2, I would highly recommend paying attention to that 1/2. This 1/2 is pretty big deal. I would rather not deal with partial numbers or decimals or fractions, so I'm going to use even numbers. Whoops, let's use a pen instead of the highlighter. Sorry about that. Let's use -2, 0, 2, 4, 6. That way when I take half, I'm dealing with a whole number. -1/2 of -2. Negative times a negative gives me a positive. Half of 2 is 1. Plus 2 is 3. 0 would give me 0 plus 2 is 2. A -1/2 of a +2 would be a -1. Plus 2 gives me a +1. And again, you can kind of start seeing the pattern. 0, -1, and then you would graph it. You should be able to look at these and tell what kind of graphs they are. Can't do a table, but x, there is no y, so x is -4. We'll say it's there. I've got, whoops, really bad line, sorry. I've got a vertical line. Y, there is no x, so I'm -1/2. We'll say that's here, and I draw a horizontal line. So your homework is in Schoology. Attached to this is the 1.4 exercises. I only want you to graph 5 through 16. So there is a 4-quadrant graph paper in the folder in Schoology. Put that graph paper into Notability. On a piece of paper, make a table for each graph and then graph them in Notability so that you have all 12 equations graphed in Notability. You do not have to submit it. On Thursday, I will put the answers into Schoology so you can compare your graphs to mine. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, good luck.